Lately, I've been noticing something. Even people who are close to me, people who know what I do, people who hear me talk about therapy and healing all the time, still have a hard time reaching out for help. And not even just therapy. Sometimes, even asking questions feels hard. And that made me pause. Because if it is this hard for people who are close to healing conversations, what about everyone else? So today, I want to talk about that. Why is it so hard for us, especially in our culture, to ask for help? Hey, I'm Zephyr, a licensed therapist, and this is Wapkute Mapkute. You are listening to me, I am listening to you. This episode came to me after a couple of recent conversations and situations in my life. And while I'm not going to share anyone's personal details in a way that would identify them, I do think there are important things we can learn from what I've been witnessing. Because what I'm seeing is this: a lot of people are carrying so much and still don't believe they need help. Or maybe they know they need help, but something in them still won't let them reach for it. And I think this is especially true in the Haitian community. So I want to talk about that today. Not from a place of judgment, but from a place of reflection, awareness, and invitation. One of the first things I notice in our culture is this belief that if I survived everything I've been through, then I must be okay. And for many Haitians, that sounds like if I survived Haiti, I can survive anything. And I understand where that comes from. Because when you grow up around political unrest, violence, uncertainty, poverty, fear, loss, and instability, you learn how to survive. You become strong, you adapt, you keep going. But surviving is not the same thing as healing. Just because you're still functioning does not mean your body is okay. Just because you're still showing up does not mean you are not carrying pain. And I think a lot of us have confused survival with wellness. Another reason I think people don't seek help is because they're still functioning. They're still going to work, still paying bills, still taking care of kids, still showing up for everybody else. So in their mind, they say, I'm not depressed, I'm not anxious, I'm okay. But what they don't realize is that anxiety and depression don't always look like staying in bed all day. Sometimes anxiety looks like always expecting the worst, irritability, overthinking, panic attacks, bouncing your leg all day, not being able to rest, constantly feeling on edge. And sometimes depression looks like emotional numbness, exhaustion, losing interest in things, feeling disconnected, shutting down, being easily frustrated, functioning but barely. And because many people are still doing life, they don't realize they are struggling. They think, as long as I'm still moving, I must be okay. But the body always tells the truth. This is something I say often. Even when your mind is trying not to think about it, your body is still holding it. You might say, I'm not thinking about it, but your body says, I still am. And that can show up as high blood pressure, stomach pain, headaches, insomnia, body aches, tension, fatigue, panic, irritability, diabetes worsen by chronic stress, always feeling tired but unable to rest. The body does not forget what the mind tries to push away. And that's one of the reasons why therapy matters. Because therapy helps bring awareness to what your body has already been carrying. And then there is this other piece that I think is very, very important: fear. Fear of what therapy is going to do, fear of what might come up, fear of what will happen if you finally let yourself feel. And in Creole, there is this phrase, wap retire venanem, which basically means you are pulling worms out of my nose. And culturally, it's often used when someone feels like you're making them talk or pulling things out of them that they don't want to look at. And I think that phrase says so much, because that's exactly how therapy can feel to some people. Like, don't make me go there. Don't make me talk about it. Don't make me open something I've been trying to keep closed. And the truth is, for many people, that is the fear. Not just therapy itself, but what they might finally have to face if they slow down enough to feel. And I also think this goes deeper into something we don't talk about enough in our culture: trust. A lot of us do not trust easily. We don't trust that people are safe. We don't trust that if we open up, it will be held with care. We don't trust that someone won't use our vulnerability against us. And honestly, that makes sense. Because when you look at our history, our collective history, there are reasons for that. There are layers of betrayal, survival, secrecy, punishment, fear. When your people have had to survive by staying guarded, that doesn't just disappear. It gets passed down. So then therapy, which asks for vulnerability, honesty, and trust, can feel almost unnatural. Because your nervous system is saying, no, stay guarded, stay safe, don't say too much. And if we don't understand that this is part of what's happening, we may judge ourselves for not seeking help when really there is a whole survival response underneath it. I also think many people simply don't understand what therapy actually is. And that matters. Because when something is unfamiliar, the brain naturally protects against it. We avoid what feels unknown. So for some people, therapy sounds like someone is going to judge me. Someone is going to force me to talk. Someone is going to tell me I'm crazy. Someone is going to tell me everything that's wrong with me. But therapy, real, safe therapy, is not that. Therapy is a space where you get to become aware of what you've been carrying. It's not about forcing. It's not about exposing you before you're ready. It's about helping you understand what your mind, your body, and nervous system have been holding. And once you understand it, that's when healing can begin. This part is important too, because I know for many people in our community, faith is central. And sometimes the belief becomes, if I have God, I don't need therapy. Or if I pray enough, that should be enough. And I want to say this gently but clearly. Therapy does not conflict with your faith. Therapy is not the opposite of prayer. Therapy does not mean you like faith, and does not mean you are weak spiritually. It does not mean you are not trusting God. Actually, I see therapy as one of the tools God has made available to us. Because if you have a heart condition, you would go see a doctor. If you had an infection, you would treat it. If your blood pressure was high, you would want to know. So why do we treat the brain differently? Why do we act like the mind is not part of the body? Mental health is health. The brain is part of the body. And if we are truly mind, body, and spirit, then all three matter. If one is struggling, everything else gets affected. So no, therapy does not take away from faith. It can actually deepen healing, because therapy helps you become aware of what has been hidden. And once you become aware, you can bring that up into your prayer too. You can become more specific about your healing, more intentional, more honest. And that is not weakness. That is wisdom. Sometimes the biggest shift therapy offers is not that it fixes you, it's that it helps you name what has been there all along. And once you can name it, you can work with it. It's like going to the doctor and finally understanding, oh, this is why I've been feeling this way. Awareness is the first step because you cannot heal what you do not recognize. And so many people are walking around with trauma, anxiety, grief, depression, panic, and chronic stress without language for it, without understanding for it, without support for it. And then they blame themselves for struggling when really they just needed tools. So if you are listening to this and something in this episode feels familiar, I want to gently ask you, what have you been carrying that you've convinced yourself is normal? What pain have you minimized because you're still functioning? What are you pushing down that your body may already been trying to speak for? And if help has felt hard for you, maybe instead of judging yourself for that, you can begin by asking, what part of me is afraid? And what does that part need in order to feel safe enough to begin? Because sometimes healing doesn't start with booking the therapy appointment right away. Sometimes it starts with honesty. Sometimes it starts with awareness. Sometimes it starts with admitting, maybe I do need support. And that matters too. And if part of what made this episode resonate with you is realizing that healing can feel hard because it's difficult to know where to begin, I want to gently remind you that healing also happens in safe spaces. That's one of the reasons I created Lakai Within, a space for Haitian women to slow down, reflect, reconnect with themselves, and process in community. Our next gathering will be on April 14th. And if you've been looking for a gentle place to start, I would love to welcome you there. You can find the details in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in to Wapkutim Mapkutil. If this episode resonated, subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who might need it. And remember, keep prioritizing yourself, keep learning, and let's heal, grow, and thrive together.